When coaching players, we often talk about transition in terms of going from offense to defense or vice versa. This is one part of transition in the soccer game, but a more important one that I always observe in players individually is their transition from doing one task to the other. This is where I feel most players struggle on the field as they're developing and growing and learning how to play the game. Players will learn how to receive the ball, they'll learn how to pass, they'll learn how to dribble. But where they struggle a little bit is when they transition from one to the next. So as they're receiving a ball, how quickly can they transition from receiving it to setting their body up to pass? Or from receiving a ball to get themselves ready to dribble? This is the transition part of the game that doesn't talked about as much, but this is where most players struggle. For example, if a player receives a ball, they sometimes will take their first touch and then do nothing to transition the body into preparing it to play or to pass. Or they receive the ball and then they start dribbling, but they've done nothing to prepare the body to start dribbling. You see this a lot in front of the goal. A player receives the ball and they don't transition well into getting the body prepared to finish. So this is a key part to work with on players, and a lot of it is footwork and body positioning. That once they perform one task, they're immediately getting their body started in order to complete the next. And this will turn into a little bit of speed of play as well. When players don't do this quick enough, their speed of play suffers. They can't execute as quickly. So when you talk about developing players and helping them improve, it's not just their receiving, it's not just their passing, it's not just their dribbling, it's not just their finishing. Often it's a lot of that transition in between. What are they doing between that moment they receive the ball and between and when till when they look to make that pass? How are they transitioning into that moment? The other side of it is when they transition into receiving and then moving with the ball, or going from a stationary position to a moving position, or moving to stationary. A lot of times players struggle with this as well, is that I can receive stationary and pass stationary, but it's very hard for me to receive and then move with the ball on my first touch. Or we're running at speed, and as I receive the ball, slow down with my first touch to control. There's a lot of moments in the game, there's a lot of transitions for players, and it's not just offense to defense. There's a lot of transitions for players individually as they're playing the game, and they're going from one movement to the next. So to help players increase their speed of play, play at a higher level, it's important for us to help them in those transition moments. Pay attention to what they're doing with their bodies, how they're positioned, if they're leaning over the ball, leaning back, which way are they facing, how quick their feet are moving, how their feet are moving from their first touch to their second touch, from one task to the next. When you're coaching them, make sure we're coaching that moment as well, not just the moment of receiving and the moment of passing or the moment to strike the ball. What are they doing in between those two moments of the game? That transitional piece right there is one of the most important transitional pieces for a player in terms of them being very effective on the field, especially with the ball.